Hi friends, happy Saturday. So on Saturdays for dinner, we tend to have the same thing, and that is soup and scones. We tend to do a theme night a couple nights a week just to make menu planning a little bit easier. So tonight I am making potato soup and pear scones. So let's get started. One more thing I also want to say before we get started is this is a vegan soup recipe. There is no cream in it at all, and it is actually got some secret ingredients in it that help make it very creamy, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Also, the scones, they are gluten-free. They are made with oat flour and almond flour, and they are delicious. Okay, now we're ready. Okay, so that induction pan did not work. We'll just try that again another time. So let's get back to chopping. And so I've chopped up my half onion. Now let's get moving on to chopping up some celery. Okay, friends, one of my very favorite ingredients to add to soup is a sweet potato. They're so good for you, full of antioxidants, and when you're making soup for your kids, you gotta add a sweet potato. It just adds that little kick of sweetness to it, and it just makes it super yummy, and your kids will definitely eat their soup. My favorite potato to use in baked potato type soups is a Yukon Gold potato. Now you can definitely take the skin off, but I like to leave the skin on because that's where a lot of the nutrients are. So I'm gonna cut up a bunch of potatoes, add them in, and then we're gonna almost be done and get it ready to go on the stove. Another awesome ingredient that you want to add to this soup right before you put it on the stove is a bag of frozen cauliflower. Of course you could use fresh, but this is what gives it such a creamy consistency without adding any milk. Promise, you want to add it. Okay, here's the soup. As you can tell, it's just full of vegetables layered on top of each other, and that is okay. So as you can see right here, I have some markings of where to put my broth, and so I want to fill it up to about the 5 or 6 quart line. I'm just going to use my favorite broth, and then whatever, I'm using 2 of these actually, and then I'll fill the rest up with water. I don't like to get too complicated with my seasonings. I'm actually out of garlic powder, so I'm just going to use garlic salt, pepper, and then I love adding in 1 bay leaf. I'll pull it out as soon as it's done cooking, and then we'll see what's next. Okay, so I'm gonna bring that soup up to a boil. And then once I do, I'm gonna lower the heat and let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes until those potatoes are nice and tender. So while that's cooking, let's make some scones. Okay friends, so for the pears, you just chop them up, put them in a little bit of water, and microwave them for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Then you add that right into your scone mixture. It's that easy. Okay, so we have let our dough sit for about 5 minutes. That gives the oats time to absorb a lot of the liquid. So now we're going to split this dough in half and make 2 batches of pear scones for dinner. These go really fast in our house and they don't last very long. Keep the dough from sticking to my hands as I form them, I just use a little dish of water, wet my hands, and that helps keep the dough from sticking. About 5 minutes in the oven, I'm going to be able to take these out and then I can kind of spread them apart. But I need that 5 minutes just to kind of firm up the dough a little bit so that I can move them. And then they'll go back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. They're that easy. These scones are my favorite. I'm so excited. They kind of have the consistency or the texture of a chewy cookie when you bite into it. If you cannot have regular scones, you want to try these. Also, this is my favorite kitchen utensil. It's called a tovolo, and it has this amazing spreader. We use it to spread peanut butter on sandwiches. I use it to flip my pancakes without any oil, and I use it also as like a what do you call it? Cookie spatula to get scones off the cookie sheet. And then this side, it's like a scooper and it's silicone, so it's like a great spatula. I'll link these below. You want one. Okay, so my soup is done cooking. There we go. And I'm going to take half of it, or about 4 cups of it at least, and put it in my blender, blend it up, and add it back in. That's what's going to give this soup that creaminess that we're wanting. I'm also going to add 1/3 cup of nutritional yeast to the blender as well. I love the nutty, cheesy flavor of the nutritional yeast, and it kind of gives you like a good creamy, or I've used creamy a lot, even though there's no cream in it. But you want to use certain ingredients that really do add that creamy texture when you're not using it. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to try and get all the cauliflower out and make sure that that gets in the blender as well. It's like that pale milk color. And now we're just going to add this to the soup. Stir it in. Now I love to add corn to my potato soup, so I'm going to add some corn and that's it. It's done. I'll adjust the seasonings if I need to, add some salt or pepper to it, and dinner's ready.